All right, guys. So I've been learning more and more about RFK Jr.'s attempt to absolutely destroy health in the United States, spreading misinformation like straight up Alex Jones, fucking insane flat earth type shit. Uh, he's fired an advisory board whose entire job is to use their expert knowledge to determine what the CDC should push as like necessary vaccines, and it directly influences what insurance providers are required to cover. So this has major ramifications. um, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to cover all of the details on RFK Jr. I suggest if you're interested and you don't know about it, you do that research separately. Mainly, I want to kind of go over the common claims and then a compilation of factual statistics involving vaccines in general. And I will briefly kind of jump into COVID specifically because that one tends to get a lot more attention, and mRNA shit in general it's loaded with fucking misinformation and, like, again, Alex Jones style flat earth stupidity. So let's go ahead and get started here. This is from AAAAI.org. It is the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. So, you'll be hard-pressed to find people more qualified to make these statements. Fact. Vaccines are an effective means of preventing life-threatening illnesses by boosting the body's natural immune response to diseases caused by viruses and bacteria. Vaccine programs throughout the world have led to improved overall health of our population by reducing the transmission of disease, permanent and temporary disability, and infant mortality. Although vaccines have been proven to be both safe and effective based on sound scientific evidence, several myths have been spread, keeping vaccines at the center of controversy. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused significant illness and disease for the world's population. With the approval of vaccinations against SARS-CoV-2 to prevent COVID-19 illness, there are also myths that are circulating about the production, effectiveness, and risks of these vaccines. Here we provide the top 5 general vaccine myths and the top 5 COVID-19 vaccine myths in an effort to emphasize the safety and necessity of the important healthcare intervention. Myth. Vaccines contain many harmful ingredients. Fact. Vaccines contain ingredients that allow the product to be safely administered. Any substance can be harmful in significantly high doses, even water. Vaccines contain ingredients at a dose that is even lower than the dose we are naturally exposed to in our environment. Thimerosal, a mercury-containing compound, is a preservative that in recent years has been used only in multi-dose vials of influenza vaccines. Although there was no evidence that this thimerosal exposure was the cause of any harm, the use of these thimerosal-containing multi-dose influenza vials have been discontinued as of 2025. As a result, no U.S. vaccines contain thimerosal or mercury. Formaldehyde is present in some vaccines as an inactivating agent and is also found in household products and furnishings, such as carpets, upholstery, cosmetics, paint, and felt tip markers, and in health products such as antihistamines, cough drops, and mouthwash. The dose in vaccines is much lower than the amount we are exposed to in our daily life. Another example of an ingredient in vaccines is aluminum, or aluminium for you people across the seas, which is added in order to boost and build a stronger immunity to the vaccine. Not all vaccines contain aluminum, but those that do typically contain aluminum in amounts that is much less than what the average person consumes in a day from foods, drinking water, and medicines. Taking a quick break here, I want you to note that these lunatics that are so hyper-focused on all this bullshit, flat earth type conspiracy shit about vaccines, it's obvious that the problem is not what they claim the problem is. How? because they don't focus on all of these other things that have higher amounts of the things that they claim they're concerned about. They only focus on vaccines, which is objectively far less of a concern, which means they're fucking crazy. Continuing. Myth. Vaccines cause autism and sudden infant death syndrome. SIDS. Fact. Vaccines are very safe. I can't talk today. Most vaccine reactions are usually temporary and minor, such as a fever or sore arm. It is rare to experience a very serious health event following a vaccination, but these events are carefully monitored and investigated. You are far more likely to be seriously injured by a vaccine-preventable disease than by a vaccine. For example, polio can cause paralysis, measles can cause encephalitis, inflammation of the brain, and blindness, and some vaccine-preventable diseases can even result in death. The benefits of vaccination greatly outweigh the risk, and without vaccines, many more injuries and deaths would occur. Science has not yet determined the cause of autism and SIDS. These diagnoses are made, though, during the same age range that children are receiving their routine immunizations. The 1998 study that raised concerns about a possible link between measles, mumps, rubella, MMR vaccine, and autism was retracted by the journal that published it because it was significantly flawed by bad science. There is no evidence to link vaccines as the cause of autism or SIDS. Very important. I'm going to repeat this because it keeps getting repeated by flat earth retarded conspiracy theorists. The study in which you keep repeating and misinformation people online, who should be shut down, by the way, like fucking Alex Jones types people, keep on citing the study that was retracted because it was debunked. Continuing. Myth. Vaccine preventable diseases are just part of childhood. It is better to have the disease than become immune through vaccines. Fact. Vaccine preventable diseases have many serious complications that can be avoided through immunization. For example, more than 226,000 people are hospitalized from influenza complications, including 20,000 children. About 36,000 people die from influenza each year. Vaccines stimulate the immune system to produce an immune response similar to natural infection, but they do not cause the disease or put the immunized person at risk of its potential complications. Myth. I don't need to vaccinate my child because all the other children around them are already immune. Fact. Herd immunity occurs when a large portion of a community is immunized against a contagious disease, reducing the chance of an outbreak. Infants, pregnant women, and immunocompromised people who cannot receive vaccines depend on this type of protection. However, if enough people rely on herd immunity as the method of preventing infection from vaccine-preventable diseases, herd immunity will soon disappear. Myth. A child can actually get the disease from a vaccine. Fact. A vaccine causing complete disease would be extremely unlikely. Most vaccines are inactivated, killed vaccines, which makes it impossible to contract the disease from the vaccine. A few vaccines contain live organisms, and when vaccinated with live vaccines, it may lead to a mild case of the disease. Chickenpox vaccine, for example, can cause a child to develop a mild rash. This isn't harmful and can actually show that the vaccine is working. One exception was the live oral polio vaccine, which could very rarely mutate and actually cause a case of polio. However, the oral polio vaccine is no longer administered in the United States. Myth. The COVID-19 vaccines were not tested before approval. Fact. There are basically two aspects to vaccine testing. The first test is whether or not the vaccine is safe. The second test is how effective the vaccine is at preventing disease or preventing a severe course of the disease. Many people were surprised and suspicious as to how fast vaccines for COVID-19 were developed. However, the world scientific community has had many years of experience in the development and testing of many kinds of vaccines, including those for previous coronaviruses similar to the one that caused COVID-19. Therefore, scientists had a very good idea where to begin regarding the development of the various COVID-19 vaccines currently available and even those still undergoing testing. The relatively rapid development of vaccine was no surprise to the experts in the field. All COVID-19 vaccines currently available in the United States have been thoroughly tested for safety and how effective they are at preventing disease. Testing the safety of a vaccine is a complicated process, most of which happens well before the first person is injected. It is first tested in laboratories and tissue culture in animals in a very humane way. Once the vaccine has been proven safe in animals, the researchers then start vaccinating human beings. During this stage, the researchers examine how effective the vaccine is at prevention of the disease. The participants are also closely monitored for any side effects. This includes anything that happens to them, from allergic reactions to tripping on a rug. Human trials are done in 3 phases. During phase 3, thousands of volunteers are tested. Once the vaccine is proven to be effective to prevent the disease and associated with none or only minor side effects, it is then approved for vaccinating large groups of people. Side effects are monitored during all phases of testing and even after approval for the vaccine is obtained. You can obtain additional information on the vaccine development process here. Myth: you can get COVID-19 from the vaccine. Fact: we know that no vaccine is 100% effective. While all of the currently approved COVID-19 vaccines have shown effectiveness at preventing the disease, full effect and protection will take time after the vaccine is given. During this time, the body develops proteins called antibodies, which provide immunity against future infection. Exposure to the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes COVID-19 disease prior to vaccination or during the time where full immunity has not been reached, may mean that you've developed the disease and may experience symptoms of COVID-19. All of the current COVID-19 vaccines approved for use in the United States do not contain the live virus, which means you cannot contract COVID-19 from these vaccines. Notice a theme here. The concerns that people raise, if not caused by direct misinformation from like someone that's presented as an authority, but is actually just a scam artist, usually just looking to make money off of this small, crazy person, flat earth community. It's people who don't understand basic science. They don't understand how it works, so their brains go crazy. Fear lives in the unknown. So you can help yourself by just basic research here. But I can't help you if you're like a flat earther and you think that fucking scientists are trying to lie to you because they're trying to like kill people or whatever the fuck crazy shit you believe with absolutely no evidence to back it. Myth: there are microchips in the COVID-19 vaccine. Fact: there are no microchips in the COVID-19 vaccines currently on the market or currently being investigated. The vaccines are not tracking people or gathering their information in any way, shape, or form. Kind of sad that they even had to cover that. That's the most retarded shit I've ever heard in my life. Myth: COVID-19 vaccines will alter my DNA. Fact: the first 2 COVID-19 vaccines approved in the United States were mRNA vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer. The mRNA that is used in these vaccines is a template for making virus proteins that then stimulate the body's immune system to produce antibodies that will lead to immunity to the virus. mRNA is rapidly degraded and is not integrated into the individual's own DNA, so it will not alter the genetic code of the individual. Myth: since I already had COVID-19 and recovered, I do not need to be vaccinated. Fact: there's not enough information available to determine how long immunity against the SARS-CoV-2 virus will last after recovering from the infection. Studies are ongoing to determine how long natural immunity lasts. However, there is some evidence that immunity may not last long. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, currently recommends that you receive a COVID-19 vaccine when you are eligible, regardless of whether you already had COVID-19 disease. You should schedule your vaccine after quarantine or isolation time is complete. For patients who receive monoclonal antibodies or convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19 disease, you should wait 90 days before getting the vaccine. All right. Facts 1. Next is going to be an AI response. And by the way, it's Google AI. There is no Google AI that just fucking makes shit up, that just takes a particular source just because some biased whatever just said so. AI analyzes like information from authoritative sources and also looks for prevalence and like reoccurrence. Like, yeah, so just to kind of cover the low-hanging fruit ahead of time, because I know people are going to go, huh, that was AI Google. Like, dude, you're retarded. Just don't talk. You're embarrassing yourself and you don't even realize it. Anyway. Statistics on anti-vaccination illness. Notice how I did not bias the search results. I didn't say proof that people who aren't vaccinated get ill more frequently or something like that. That's a loaded query. It's a completely neutral query. Due to increasing anti-vaccination sentiment and declining immunization rates, outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases like measles, whooping cough, and polio are increasing in frequency and severity. Unvaccinated individuals are at significantly higher risk of contracting these diseases compared to their vaccinated peers, which also threatens the health of the medically vulnerable who cannot be vaccinated. Global statistics on declining immunization. Widespread backsliding. In 2023, an estimated 14.5 million children worldwide missed all routine vaccine doses. This is a significant increase from 12.9 million children in 2019, reflecting a major global backslide in immunization efforts exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Vulnerable regions. Over half of the unvaccinated zero-dose children live in just 10 countries, most in low and middle income regions. However, the Americas, once a leader in vaccination coverage, now has some of the world's worst coverage, putting it at highest risk for outbreaks in 30 years. Funding cuts. Global funding cuts are disrupting vaccination programs in dozens of countries, impacting routine immunization and access to supplies. Resurgence of vaccine-preventable diseases. Measles. A highly contagious disease, measles was declared eliminated in the U.S. in 2000. However, resurgences have occurred, including 1,274 cases in the U.S. in 2019 and a surge in 2025. Globally, measles cases rose by 20% between 2022 and 2023, reaching an estimated 10.3 million cases. In the U.S., about 1 in 5 unvaccinated people who get measles are hospitalized. Whooping cough, or pertussis. Increases in whooping cough cases are being observed as childhood immunization rates fall. A 2008 study found that the mean annual incidence of pertussis was almost twice as high in states with less strict vaccine exemption policies. Polio. Though nearly eradicated, the risk of polio outbreaks exists in areas with low vaccination coverage. In recent years, polio vaccination coverage has dropped slightly in the U.S. Meningitis and yellow fever. The World Health Organization has reported sharp increases in meningitis and yellow fever cases, particularly in Africa and the Americas. Notice the link here where some examples will be in low-income areas where they have less access to vaccines, but then they'll include the Americas. What's the difference between those two? This anti-intellectual stupidity that's being spread, especially by MAGA and MAHA, that are pushing this vaccine misinformation. And you can see by the statistics that the stupidity and the flat earth mentality is directly leading to deaths and more illness. This is what happens when stupidity reigns over actual science. This is why it's important that you actually look through sources and you don't just accept shit at face value, especially if it's something you fear. So you just automatically look for any sort of source that agrees with your take, and then you just live in an echo chamber of stupidity for the rest of your life. Risk to unvaccinated individuals and communities. Increased individual risk. A 2005 study found that unvaccinated children were 35 times more likely to contract measles and nearly 6 times more likely to contract whooping cough than vaccinated children. A 2024 CDC report also found that over 82% of children who developed multi-symptom inflammatory syndrome, MIS-C, after a COVID-19 infection in 2023 were unvaccinated. Over 82% were unvaccinated. Higher severity of illness. In the U.S., 10 to 30 unvaccinated children out of every 10,000 who get measles will die, and 2,000 will be hospitalized. Impact on the community. Herd immunity. Herd immunity protects the most vulnerable individuals who cannot be vaccinated, such as infants, the elderly, and the immunocompromised. When vaccination rates fall below the herd immunity threshold, often 93 to 95% for highly contagious diseases like measles, these individuals are put at greater risk. For example, studies have shown that non-exempt children in areas with low vaccination rates are at greater risk of contracting diseases. So oftentimes this gets framed as, this is my body and I make the decision that I don't want this vaccine in it. Now, it's worth noting that it's been proven time and time again that your reasoning for thinking that is because you're a fucking moron. So, in essence, what is happening, and we have insane amounts of evidence that I'm going over right now, your selfishness, your fear of this crazy flat earth bullshit that you've been told, or that you've concocted in your own brain, whatever happened, is causing the deaths of other people because you are a piece of shit. This is why it's not as simple as, well, that's fine, they can go get vaccines, but I'm not. If you're not vaccinated, you are more likely to spread it to other people. This is very, very basic shit. I don't understand why it can't be understood. Next. This is a infographic. Since mid-April, COVID-19 deaths had declined in Democratic districts but have been relatively stable in Republican districts. This is in the past, but it's very important for my point. So, blue here is Democrat districts. All districts, Republican districts. It's showing the rate of decline here. So, as you can tell, more people died that were Republican after the vaccine rollout. Now, I want to note something. Some people claim that I'm reaching. There's no reaching because there's no other explanation. There's no other logical explanation, at least. What is the difference, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic when it was like in its extreme beginnings and we were kind of losing our mind trying to get information and trying to figure out what the best way to combat it was. And the difference after the rollout of vaccines between Democrats and Republicans. Very simple. Like, even Republicans can answer this question. Republicans were more likely to believe flat earth, stupid, anti-science bullshit. They believed that COVID-19 vaccine caused some sort of harm and was dangerous. And not only that, was more dangerous than COVID-19 itself, which has been factually debunked over and over and over again. But the point is, they believed that it was harmful and they were afraid of it. And some of them, although not all, had this sort of pray the infection away or pray the illness away, which is, by the way, been shown to cause a greatly increased amount of deaths in like highly religious people when they refuse actual scientific fucking medicine. And that is the point where you don't get to claim that it's your child, you can do what you want. At that point, your stupidity, which is not the fault of your child, your stupidity causes them to die. And as it should be, you are fucking indicted and charged. It's essentially homicide. That's what it is. You don't have any excuse. Being stupid is not an excuse to kill your child, especially when the information is here, right fucking in front of you. I didn't have to work hard to pull this shit up. I just have to post it because retarded people won't do it. It's highly likely that you won't even watch it because you'll just shut it down and you'll be like, huh, that's crazy. Even though they're all facts. Everything here is facts. Other than, of course, my opinions about people being retarded and stuff like that, but I shouldn't even need to cover that because it's kind of obvious. So, Republicans and like anti-vaxxer people have come out after the fact and been like, yeah, because they only follow their echo chamber. They watch like Alex Jones type flat earth shit again, and they don't watch actual science and actually like legitimate sources of information. So what they believe is, oh yeah, it came out that I was right. It actually harmed people. Like, all of the facts, all of the statistics prove you wrong. And this is just one example of that. Unless you can find some other way of explaining why so many more Republicans died than Democrats. I'm waiting. It should be hilarious. Another infographic. Let me blow it up a little bit. Then versus now. Vaccines work. Then, whooping cough, 17,777 cases. Now, 2,340 cases. 87% decrease. Then, mumps, 36,101 cases. Now, 737 cases. 98% decrease. Measles, 53,584 cases. Now, 37 cases. More than 99% decrease. Diphtheria, then 8,142 cases. Now, 5 cases. More than 99% decrease. Rubella, then 14,974 cases. Now, 1 case. More than 99% decrease. Polio, 2,545 cases then. Cases now, 0. It's been completely eradicated to our knowledge. Class dismissed. Thank you for your time.